G'day, I'm John Ford from Caravan World, and we're here at Berrima Diesel with Andrew and Baden, and we're going to do a bit of work to the 200 here.
Looking forward to it, seeing your lovely rig over there on the side, just waiting to have all the work done, so looking forward to it today.
Yeah, no, it's been a good thing, but it uses a bit of fuel, Andrew, so you know, we're keen to see what we can do with that, and maybe looking for a bit more power. I think that you reckon that could be possible as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you certainly got some load on it for sure, and diesels love load. You know, you need torque to pull that along a bit more efficiently, so giving you a bit of a wider operating range of torque through a few mods that we're going to be doing today will you know, obviously mean that the drivability is a little bit better, a little bit less throttles needed, and it might only be a millimetre or two. But as we know, the distance we clock up in Australia, that suddenly starts equating to a few dollars saving.
Yeah, cool. So what are we going to do to it, Baden?
So today we've got it booked in for a couple of things. So starting off with the inlet manifold clean outs, then we'll move on to the oil catch can, fit that, which will then prevent any build up happening from the inlet manifold build up. Then we'll move on to the diesel pre-fuel filter, and then we'll move on to the fans, which will also help with power and heat soak. And then we'll move on to the custom ECU tuning. So we do that on the dyno, do a before and after run, which will give us a printout of how it was standard versus how it is now with the tune.
So you've taken it for a run, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, look, it definitely goes well. As all 200s, they all go really well, but like everything, just going on some of the little hills that we've got in our road tests there, a little bit lethargic going up. When we do the ECU tuning on this, make all the difference. You'll be a gear or a gear and a half ahead from where you were. And same with the inlet manifold clean. These start blocking up in 50,000 Ks. So within 50,000 Ks, you've gone from say 100% airflow already down to say 80% airflow. So the EGR clean will consist of putting a chemical cleaner through the intake manifold. So pretty much straight after your intercooler is where the EGR system starts on these. Now a lot of people go on the debate about pulling off the inlet manifold versus doing a clean. Look, we do say that a lot of cleaners do not work very well, and using the old can spray will only do so much. But what we're doing is we're putting up high pressure cleaner through it. It will take about 30 to 40 minutes to clean through the manifold. Once it's cleaned through, there might be a skin layer left. You'll go for a road test. If there was any excess left in there, it will literally burn off in the combustion there.
Just having a look at the air cleaner there now.
Yeah, exactly. So when you pull out the air cleaner, like everything nice and clean, look, there's a common one for these when fitting air cleaners. You've got to really push the lid inwards and down, because what ends up happening on a lot of these 200s, the dusted intakes that everyone talks about, is this little lip seal here pushes back and it gets pinched. And then when it gets pinched here, you will allow dust to come past. So as we say, exactly, no sealing. So all it's about is installing an air filter correctly is why you don't get dust in your intake. Install it incorrectly, you will get dust in your intake. And then you go further into it, a lot of workshops or just people in general forget about this little pre-cleaner. So how this works is you've got a little turbine style intake cyclonic bit in there. That turbulence is the air when it comes in, or your heavy particles, dirt, bugs, leaves, anything like that, falls down into this little pre-cleaner and fills up. Now when this is full, that just means it's not going to be filtering as well. Your air filter's got to work harder now to filtrate, where this is an easy little maintenance thing. Got a little rubber boot, you can pop that off, empty it out, put it back on, in the airbox she goes.
So maybe just take us through what the catch can does.
Yeah, so the catch can, so pretty much what we do is, as you can see, these 200 series have a really nice bracket system that we can mount in here. Plenty of room, airbox and everything left as is. So what we're actually going to be doing is, coming in this top hose at the end of the fitment, we're going to have the oily fumes and oily vapours coming in. Once it passes through here, that will be going through the filter inside and then coming out the other end as dry air. Now if you erase the EGR system, it would be the perfect well, but doesn't pass emission standards in Australia, so the best way to go around it legally is putting on an oil catch can. So we pull that moisture out, so all the oil vapours, and then once the oil vapours are out, the carbon and soot passing through has nothing to stick to. So if you keep this drained every 5 to 10,000 kilometres and change the filter every 30 to 40,000 kilometres, you'll have no issues, nice clean intake, no build up with the carbon and soot, so you no longer have to do inlet manifold clean outs. And that's as simple as a catch can is, really. With these catch cans, a very common one is you've got your breathing fumes going back in, The only trouble is you've got the breather fumes going back into one turbo side. So instead of coming straight in the middle, which would then go to 2 turbos, it's going to your passenger side turbo. Now the problem with that is that we're seeing on a lot of vehicles with a bit more mileage on them, as I was speaking before as well, dusted intakes. As soon as you get a dusted intake happening, one side's copping dust only, the other side's copping dust mixed with oily fumes. Now the problem with that is oily fumes and dust becomes a clumpy, gooey mess, and that's going straight to the clean side of the turbo, and therefore that's why these turbos are known for the passenger side turbo failure. So as we say, putting a catch can on is a big benefit, but also installing those air filters correctly is going to stop all those passenger side turbos failing. Next part, we're going to be fitting the diesel fuel pre-filter. Now when we do these fit outs, we always check the main filter, because a lot of vehicles come in with fuel filters not changed, very black, causing fuel restrictions as soon as you put a secondary filter on. So we've already got the lid off on this. As we say, they're only a little Allen key, so you only need to nip them up by hand just tight enough, because you've got this orange O-ring here which seals out any air or fuel leaks coming in or out. So obviously now the top's off, we can pull this filter up and we can give it a check. Now look, that's not too bad. That's a pretty good fuel filter. It's definitely done its job, nice and black, but we'll probably end up changing it today. It's definitely done its job with filtrating, very black on this top part and then white on the bottom. Now, the only thing I do want to talk about is, yes, this filter is doing its job. Yes, it's doing a good job. Is it doing it to what it should as comparison to a genuine Toyota fuel filter? Probably not. Why is that? Because as you can see on here, there's a lot of glue on the areas where it's meant to be sealing, and same on this side. Alright, so as you can see, we've got both fuel filters out now. One's a genuine Toyota, one's an aftermarket, one's covered with glue, and this one here, as you can see, is just pleated paper, so it's getting the right job, it's been done correctly. On the side here as well, it's got one dollop to seal the filter and just keep the filter together. Where you can see on the comparison one, it's just a big gooey mess. So when we do fuel filters, we always say a genuine filter can't go wrong. They're about $50 roughly to get one, where these are about probably $40, so $10 difference for a set of 10 grand injectors. Change these out every 10,000 Ks and it stops you from having issues. A lot of people go 20, 30, 40,000 Ks, or as the manufacturer says, wait for the restriction light to come on. Now that's going to be 20 times worse when the restriction light comes on, so that can allow stuff to go through, and then someone on the other end's going to be smiling when you're up for a new set of injectors and have to pay the price for a $50 filter. So the standard fuel filter does have a water trap in it. However, the only downside is it's a bit of an old system. So how it works is it's got a little float inside, and when that float hits a certain level, that will then send off the water sensor saying you've got water in the fuel. The only problem is, say your fuel bowl's about this big, you're going to need at least almost a quarter of the fuel bowl to be full before that water alarm comes onto the dash. So we get plenty of them coming in through the workshop, pull the fuel filter out. Oh my God, look at this. Half the bloody bowl's almost full of water and the water alarm hasn't even come on yet, because that float hasn't actually moved up enough for it to come on for the water alarm to go off. So that's why we do say fitting these pre-filters is a benefit, because the element that sits inside here has a wax coating on it which is resistant to water, so it will still let fuel pass through. Then you've got the little drain tap on the bottom and you can drain it out. Check it every service, even before a service, or you feel a bit worried that you filled up at a bad fuel station, let the vehicle run for about 1 minute. Within 1 minute, whatever fuel you just filled up with will be straight inside here. Check the glass bowl out. Oh, she's still clean, you're probably good to go. Oh crap, there's a bit of contamination, turn the car off, and obviously you'll have to get the fuel drained after that.
Good.
How you going?
Good,
So
baby.
John Reinhardt. So
John.
this is obviously my grandpa, so Orpa we call him because German. So he started up Berrima Diesel, going on to 3rd generation now. So he was the 1st generation, then my dad jumped into it, and now we're jumping into it. So he's pretty much still coming up to the workshop, looking over everything, making sure we're keeping in line with everything. He started up Berrima Diesel back in the day. He came from Bosch in Germany, so he was originally from Germany back in the day, and then Bosch flew him over to start doing work on cars. He started up that side back in the days when you had the old 60s, the old 40s and everything coming in like a brand new car. Then my dad jumped in when the 80s and the 100s were starting to come out on the market. And now you've got my brother and I, Trent, and he's jumped into the market with me doing ECU tuning and jumping onto the modern vehicles. So we're just doing fans, catch can, fuel manager, ECU tune, EGR clean and everything.
For caravans, I think it's an ideal one.
A must do, definitely. So yeah, we were just talking about what the fans do, how they do it, why we should do it, and why we recommend it. And as I was saying to him, the reason why we do it is because you've got your temperature sensor on the back, and that temperature sensor controls everything from tuning to performance, economy, everything. So as soon as these intercoolers get hot, they start detuning the vehicle, which then affects your performance, affects your economy, everything. So the reason for putting these fans on is fans go on top and they draw air through. So it is a must do really for the 200s and the 70s. Wouldn't have it any other way. You'll keep performance and everything.
The common problem is people complain with their vans. I said going happy, all right. On a long climb, by the time they get nearly to the top, it's lost power. It's losing its grunt already. The reason is, like Baden said, but going that long pull, that gets hotter and hotter, and it starts detuning. We've got to have air, so the fan is the answer. Well, we're doing this intercooler upgrade with a fan. The reason is the intercooler on top of the motor, which runs quite hot, and the usual complaint is on a long climb, particularly with the Caravan, it gets hotter and hotter, and with the sensor in the back, it starts detuning. People saying I'm losing grunt, I don't have the power. So we're fitting the fan on top, the twin fans, they keep sucking the air, that stops the problem. So we try and fix it up, and it works really well, we know that.
So these intercooler fans, we've gone through a few testers and different ones, but we're going with the PWR nowadays. So they're a great intercooler fan, really good Australian made product. So this kit is a plug and play kit. You can literally buy it off our website. We'll ship it off to you, and it's a bolt-in. So all it goes into the factory intercooler fitting points. The wiring will have all the wiring looms there for plug and play, positive, negative, and an ignition, and that's as complicated as they are. We've got the fans all fitted up now. Like I was speaking about before, you've just got your factory hole points where it all mounts up, so nice and simple. Factory engine cover comes off. So the PWR kit, which is why we love it, comes with a factory template that goes around the side, which seals on the bonnet. So you've got a complete seal with the fans pushing air through. Best modification to have, and nice and simple.
Yeah, it's very neat. And the fans sit up into the scoop up there, eh?
Exactly. So when you close this bonnet, the fans will kind of sit flush with here, and you've got this nice flat section. Cruising, like we say, full-wheel driving is probably where these get hot too. So you're towing your Caravan on a dirt road up a big hill, really working hard to get up it, these fans will be working non-stop. So what happens is when you've got a factory car with no bull bar fitted or anything, as we know, your intake points are on the front here, just under this tower. You've got 2 scoops. And as soon as you put a bull bar, a bit of turbulence now. So to avoid any situation, because we all love putting lights on for night driving, we all love the bars to keep it safe for kangaroos or just anything in general. And we love the accessories for looks. So what you do to help and compensate that is fit a pair of fans. What I'm finishing off here for the day, just a little plug and go throttle controller. The question is, what's it actually doing? So it's just adjusting throttle sensitivity. So instead of having to put your foot down all the time when you're cruising on the highway or just around town, you've got a lot sharper, quicker response on the throttle. So that eliminates a lot of the lag takeoff, or when you're going through a roundabout, come out the other end, put your foot, bit of a delay. That will save all that kind of area there. And then same thing, when you're towing a Caravan, your foot can get very heavy. It will actually just help with the cruising along the highway, not keeping your foot down all the way. What you're seeing here is the factory filing that we've pulled off the vehicle, all the maps that we need to touch and do. So what we've got here, we've got some turbo maps, we've got some V&T maps for the turbo as well, some limiters, fuel maps, torque maps, all the things we need to adjust. Now, the thing with this is a lot of people can do the wrong by these things because the maps are kind of unlimited. You can bring everything to the peaks where you can actually damage and hurt things dramatically. And that's why we say to do this properly, you've got to be really knowledgeable, really understand what the mapping's doing, where it's changing things, what RPM and how much injection time you're adding into areas. So when it comes to these mappings, it is really an experiencing to know what to do. And that's why we do say always go to a reputable tuner that knows what he's doing. Like us, we always been doing it for years. 3 generations we're going on to for doing it. So what we've done, we've pulled off the standard file. And luckily I've had a look and we've actually got some software and modified filing already for this particular software number. Like everything, every make and model has its own software number, but between year models there's always an identical one out there kind of thing. So we've done plenty of these exact 200 series with the exact same software number. So we are lucky and we can use some of the existing stuff we've got on our filing and put it back onto this one, and we'll load it up onto the vehicle and see how she goes. Usually expecting anywhere between a 20 to 30% increase on torque and power, and then we can fine tune anything we have to if we're not happy with the results on the dyno. So we're at a point where we're just going to wait for the upload to happen of the new file now. So that's the modified file that I did up and we're going to put onto the vehicle. As you can see, ECU programming, it's got a percentage line, and we've just got to wait now till it completes the upload. And then we'll be doing our after run with the modified file and see how the results come up. And then any fine tuning needed, we can do that after the file's been loaded. So we've pretty much come to the ends now where we've done the tune and the results have actually come up really well. This is a really nice increase. Like everything, we haven't gone overkill. We've kept all the safety parameters there. We've kept all the limiters on, so nothing's going out of specs or out of areas. One thing with the 200s is, as you can see, they always diminish here. So if anyone's wondering why there's a bit of a dip here, purely because efficiency of the turbo. The only way to get more power and more torque here is by trying to keep more boost, but the problem is these turbos aren't very efficient in the very high RPM. But as we all know, we don't want to drive at 4,000 RPM. We want to be driving between 2 to 2,500 RPM for your peak torque range. So starting off at the very beginning, we went from 984 newton meters up to 1,153 newton meters. So really good figures coming out of this 200 series today. And like I said, it's nothing overkill. It's not a big tune. It's a pretty normal standard tune for these. So still keeping everything safe and not letting the vehicle get hot.
So we've been on the dyno and made a lot of noise, mate, but what have we produced?
Yeah, so look, it actually came up really well, John. So we've got the graph here. So pretty much you've come up from about 135 kilowatts up to 160 and 984 newton meters up to 1,153. Yeah, okay. Now, you know, pretty good increase, 20 to 30% increase through the rev range. You got to really notice that. I'd say that in comparison on the road is about a gear to a gear and a half better up a hill. So instead of knocking back on those hills, you'll be pulling up those hills in the same gear this time.
Yep. No, that sounds pretty good. So that was pretty promising and very educational. And you know, I look forward to getting it out on the road and having it run. Thanks very much for Berrima Diesel and Andrew and Baden for the day. It was really interesting. I learned a lot, and I'm sure old 200 here is going to really appreciate the extra power and a bit less stress on the road.
That's it.
I think we probably, you know, thanks for coming in, and we aim to educate people when they're here.
Yeah.
I mean, they may not want to be a mechanic. By the time they finish here, maybe it's just that German bloodline. It sort of makes sure people understand, you know, simple things about the catch cam may have been fitted to this and that, just so they know.
Yeah.
The mechanic they're using may not be aware of it. He might just be a car mechanic or something like that. So I think a little bit of info can go a long way, and with the right info, as you've probably seen today, it makes things a little bit clearer and a little bit more understanding, particularly when you're on a trip.
Yeah, no, I'm very confident it's going to work.
That's good.
Really well. Yeah, thank you very much.
Get some more trips done quicker now.
Yeah, that's right. Good on you.
Good, thanks for coming.
Good, thank you.
That's us from Caravan World, and thanks for watching.